So Michael Schumacher, there we see his time, and well, that car is probably not the easiest car to drive. Oh, look at that.
I think the reason why we're seeing so many people looking very twitchy and nervy is that they're trying to strike the balance between good top speed and, if you like, the minimum amount of downforce they need for the slower parts of the circuit and for a corner like Tamburello here, which of course is flat out 190 miles an hour on the exit of that corner, and the quickest cars reaching just over 200 miles an hour through the Villeneuve curve, under brakes into the Tosser hairpin, and
he's done it, but he's also taken pole position. Schumacher, a 1:22.015, and that is a tenth of a second faster than Gerhard Berger. So Schumacher spinning off, there we see it again, but provisional, the fastest. And also out on the circuit is Ayrton Senna.
Well, we've seen probably more of the front runners have moments here at Imola than we've seen at any point during the year. And again, the balance of downforce, because what's going to happen, or what is happening, they're running low downforce to be competitive on the straight. Tosser hairpin is one of the slowest, and not the slowest corner on the circuit. And the downforce is minimal at that speed, and if you're just a little bit too anxious turning in or a bit too quick on the wheel, the back will just pirouette round, you saw it.
So, Ayrton Senna, the man who scored 64 pole positions in his racing career. This is going to be number 65. He's been on pole position in Brazil, he's been on pole position in Japan. He just has not scored any points yet for his new employer. He looks good there.
Well, he's very, very clean indeed, certainly not using anything like the amount of curve we've seen from other competitors. And Senna, well, don't believe that this is an out-and-out qualifying lap.
Senna, who is currently in third position behind Gerhard Berger. And if we look into seventh, we see Mark Blundell now being the fastest Toro Yamaha driver. But Ayrton Senna, well, that doesn't look like a very quick lap, to be honest. That's slow, 24.0. Well, slow, but I mean, that's a couple of seconds off.
Yes, indeed, and you're looking at Senna on that lap. He was not running wide out of corners. He was not doing what you would expect when you're fully committed to your pole lap. So it was, in a sense, just building himself up, getting a feel for this particular set of tyres. Now, this is, I think, going to be the lap that he hopes will regain that provisional pole.
Well, Ayrton, who did a 1:21, whoops, look on the paper, 1:21.5 this morning, is the only top driver who has not improved on his morning time so far. So we should see an improvement. He's done 21s this morning. What can he do this afternoon? And there we see Ayrton Senna using more road than he did on his previous lap. So this could well be the lap.
Well, into Ravazza, first part third, second part fourth, and certainly being very, very purposeful, but I would say consciously and deliberately staying off the amount of curve we've seen elsewhere. Now the final thrust across start-finish line, 21.837, and that is packed on to provisional pole by just under 0.2 of a second from his protagonist this year, and it's almost like the parrot on his shoulder. Whatever Senna does, he's shadowed, and he's fun now, as identical to Schumacher. Now, Williams are running probably more downforce than I would suspect Benetton are, but still probably quite a lot less than Senna would be accustomed to in the first two Grand Prix of the year. And the margin is just so fine.
There we see it again, Ayrton Senna spinning off, but he has taken back that provisional pole position Michael Schumacher now second, Gerhard Berger is in third, and J.J. Leto fourth.
And, well, he will be on a fresh set of tyres for this run. And that's the point where we saw Schumacher and Senna both spin. Damon looked very confident. He turned in, and he got the car, I felt the position of the car in Tosa, I would say pretty good, and he was able to get on the power, up the hill.
But John, that first corner, when you get into it and you sort of take the car with the scruff of its neck, and it does do what you want it to do, that's a confidence boost, isn't it?
Well, you've got to make the car do what you want it to do, not what it thinks it wants to do. And if it means maybe just giving you a little bit more rear wing, and there is Andrea de Cesaris clobbering his right rear and his Jordan. Well, this has been an awful day indeed. Now the wheel finally off the car. And in fact, it's just a tyre. The wheel is still on, and Andrea pulls off. And that was into the chicane before Acqua Minerale. He's now come out of Acqua Minerale and pulled off onto the right-hand side of the circuit. And this is, I think, arguably the worst day in the history of Jordan Grand Prix since 1991.
Damon Hill improving to a 23.628, now in 8th position. And he will come across those yellow flags for the Cesaris' car. Now, what happened there, John? Could that be just... Ah, that's what happened.
Well, he's exiting, coming out of Piratella, and that's what he did. He went wide over the curb. And no wonder that right rear gave up.
Well, he didn't hit anything.
He was very lucky indeed. He didn't hit anything. And Andrea just trying too hard in the remaining moments of this first qualifying session. Again, curb is being very, very much... You see the reason now why the tyre well and truly about to come off the rim. Andrea, I suspect, looking for somewhere safe to pull the car off the side of the circuit, and there, somewhat drunkenly, it wobbles its way to safety. So Andrea de Cesaris on his return to Formula One, deputising for Ulsterman Eddie Irvine.
And there's Ayrton Senna. His best lap so far, a 1:21.837. Now, can he improve on that in these dying minutes of the session? 3 minutes and, well, let's say 3.5 minutes to go. So that's 2 laps for Ayrton. And where is Damon? He's improved again a little bit to a 23.199. Let's put him 7th so far, but that's not what he wants.
Well, all the focus back onto provisional pole man Senna. And after a very disappointing start for him to the 94 championship year, is Imola going to be the point where things start to fall into place in the way people predicted when it was known that Senna would be joining Williams and Renault? 25.148, and that is a further 0.3 of a second improvement. And now just over half a second under Alain Prost's pole position from 1993.
And that's roughly what he did this morning, John.
But this is the point on his first run that he did lose the back end of the car. A little bit more circumspect through it this time. But I think maybe teams have tried to pinch too much top speed to the detriment of the low speed handling. And in Imola, while there are some very high speed corners, the aerodynamics basically look after a car in those corners. It's when you've got low speed chicanes or a hairpin bend like Tosa, where the entry speed is maybe around about 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour at maximum, the level of downforce at that speed is very low indeed. So great care is needed. Now, to put a rear wing up, or put what we call a gurney flap, a return flap in the rear wing, might rob you of 3 or 4 miles an hour on the straight. But if it gives you that additional security in those lower speed corners, it's got to be the quicker way to go in my view.